Welcome in, everybody. Today we're going to do a deep dive into Theodore Roosevelt. You know, the Rough Rider, the trust buster, Mount Rushmore guy.
Oh yeah, Teddy.
But we're going way beyond the textbook stuff.
Okay.
We've got biographies, speeches, even some of his personal letters and diaries.
Wow, a real treasure trove.
It is, and we're going to find out not just like the highlight reel, but also the challenges that he faced.
The stuff that doesn't make it into the textbook.
Exactly. So what made Teddy tick? What can we learn from his life?
Well, you know, one thing that really jumps out from all these sources is that this was a guy who was always pushing himself, always striving to be better. He wasn't just born a leader. He really had to work at it.
Right.
And that journey, you know, it started, believe it or not, way back in his childhood.
That doesn't exactly sound like bully pulpit material.
No, not exactly. You know, this was a kid who had asthma, all sorts of health problems, so frail that doctors back then, they thought he wouldn't even make it to adulthood.
Wow.
Imagine being told that.
Wow.
That you wouldn't amount to much. I mean, talk about a challenge.
Yeah. But then he becomes this larger-than-life figure known for his physical strength, right?
Right.
It just seems counterintuitive.
It is.
So how did that happen? What drove that transformation?
Well, his father, he was a big influence. You know, he really pushed Teddy to get outdoors, exercise, you know, build his strength.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just, you know, casual strolls in the park.
Right.
Teddy got into, get this, weightlifting and boxing.
Whoa. Weightlifting and boxing.
Yeah.
Back then. That's pretty hardcore for the time.
It was very unusual. And you know, when you think about it, it's almost like he was, almost like he was making a statement.
Like he was defying those early limitations.
Exactly. He was actively rebelling against those limitations.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key takeaway here.
Oh,
it's that his focus on physical strength, it wasn't just about vanity. It was about overcoming adversity. It was about building resilience. You know, he really believed that if you could face physical challenges, you could face anything.
So that strenuous life philosophy everyone associates with him, it was more than just a catchy phrase.
Right.
It came from a real place.
It really did. It came from this deep personal struggle. And you know, it wasn't just about physical strengths either. It was a metaphor for his whole approach to life.
Okay.
He brought that same grit, that same determination to everything he did. But of course, you know, physical challenges, those were just the beginning. His life takes a really dramatic turn in 1884.
1884. That's when his mother and his wife both died on the same day, right?
Yeah. On Valentine's Day, no less.
Oh, wow. I mean, I can't even imagine that kind of grief. How did he even begin to cope with that?
Well, what he did was pretty unexpected. He went out west. She went to the Badlands in North Dakota.
The Badlands. That seems like a pretty stark contrast to his life in New York.
It was. I mean, picture this heartbroken, grieving man, you know, going out to this harsh, unforgiving landscape.
Almost like he was intentionally seeking out hardship. Like he needed that strenuous life to counteract the emotional pain.
Yeah. And it's during this time that we see his deep love for nature really emerge. You know, he becomes a rancher, a horseman, really immerses himself in the wilderness.
Aww.
And there's this quote from this time that I think really gets to the heart of his mindset.
Yeah.
He said, "Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those timid spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in a gray twilight that knows not victory nor defeat."
He could have just retreated from life, you know, given what had happened, but he chose to embrace challenge. He chose action.
He did.
And what's interesting is that this quote, it's not just about overcoming grief. It's a philosophy that we see throughout his life. It shapes his leadership, even his decisions as president later on.
Yeah, it's really powerful. His time in the Badlands, it wasn't just about healing. It was truly transformative. It shaped his worldview. It solidified his inner strength. And it really set the stage for his entry into politics, which, as we know, is a whole other chapter of challenges and triumphs.
Absolutely.
And, you know, his political career, it wasn't exactly a walk in the park either.
Yeah.
I mean, he went up against these powerful political machines, you know, the ones that controlled everything.
Oh, yeah.
Challenging the status quo, making a lot of enemies.
Right. It's almost like his time in the Badlands, it kind of prepped him for that kind of fight.
You know, it's funny you should say that, because I think you're absolutely right. He had learned how to face down challenges, whether it was, wrangling cattle or taking on corrupt politicians.
Right.
And one example that really stands out is his time as New York City police commissioner.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about that.
He just went after corruption like with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Really shook things up, earned himself a reputation as a reformer.
It almost sounds like a preview of his battles with the big monopolies and corporate power when he became president.
You could definitely say that, but
Yeah.
it wasn't just about busting trust. He had a more nuanced view of corporate power than I think he's often given credit for.
Oh, yeah.
He believed in regulating businesses, not just breaking them up, and he really pushed for legislation to protect consumers, to protect workers.
So he wasn't anti-business. He just wanted things to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted a level playing field.
Yeah.
And knowing your interest in history, I bet you're familiar with Roosevelt's famous "speak softly and carry a big stick" philosophy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But what I find fascinating is how he balanced that diplomatic approach with decisive action.
Yeah.
He understood the power of both negotiation and force.
Yeah. He wasn't afraid to take bold action, like his intervention in the Panama Canal situation.
Exactly.
But he also, he knew how to use that bully pulpit, as they called it, to get the public behind him, to get them to support his policies.
Yeah, and think about his conservation efforts. I mean, that's a perfect example. It wasn't just about setting aside land. He made it like a national crusade.
Yeah.
His passion for conservation was truly remarkable. And it's directly linked back to his time in the Badlands.
Absolutely.
That experience instilled in him this deep love of nature, this conviction that we have to protect it.
Yeah.
And he established over 150 million acres of national forests, parks, monuments.
But what's really impressive is his vision. He understood that these natural treasures they belong to future generations.
Yeah, a true pioneer of the environmental movement.
Absolutely. And speaking of pioneers, there's another aspect of Roosevelt that I find fascinating. It's his commitment to lifelong learning. I mean, even as president, he reportedly read a book a day.
Wow. A book a day. I mean, I struggle to get through one a month.
Right. He was just insatiably curious. And it wasn't just about, accumulating knowledge. He actively applied what he learned to his leadership, to his decision making. He understood that to lead effectively, he had to keep growing. He had to keep expanding his understanding of the world.
Okay. So we've got this mix of qualities here. The Rough Rider, the trust buster, the conservationist, the scholar, the bold leader. It's a lot to process. What does it all mean? What's the core message that we should take away from Roosevelt's life?
Well, I think at the heart of it all is this idea that we aren't defined by our circumstances, but by how we choose to respond to them.
Right.
Roosevelt faced, some really immense challenges. I mean, physical limitations, personal tragedy, fierce political opposition.
Yeah.
But he never let them break him.
He didn't.
He used them almost as fuel, to become stronger, more resilient, a more impactful leader.
Yeah. He really embodies that idea of, turning adversity into an opportunity for growth. And that really resonates with me, especially thinking about, the project you're working on right now.
Yeah. And it wasn't just about, personal resilience either. His concept of the strenuous life, it had this social dimension as well. He believed in using that strength that you build to serve something greater than yourself.
Right.
To contribute to the common good.
So it wasn't enough to just, kind of build yourself up.
Sure.
You had to use that strength to make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. Whether it was fighting for social justice, promoting conservation, advocating for a strong national defense. I mean, Roosevelt believed in the power of collective action. He was constantly calling on people to be active citizens, to engage with the issues of their time.
It's inspiring to see that kind of commitment to public service. But wouldn't you say that his legacy, it's about more than just his accomplishments?
Yeah.
It's also about the inspiration that he continues to provide.
That's a great point. Think about all the people who've been motivated by his words, his actions, his unwavering belief in the human spirit.
Yeah.
His impact extends far, far beyond his own lifetime.
Absolutely. And that kind of brings us back to you. What resonates most with you about Roosevelt's story? What lessons or insights do you find particularly compelling?
It's a question worth pondering. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from his sickly childhood to his time in the Badlands, his political battles, his conservation efforts, even his intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's about what this story means to each of us, individually.
Right.
Hmm.
We've explored the challenges he faced, the choices he made, the legacy he left behind.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn to connect the dots. How might these insights apply to your own life, your own journey?
Mm. And we've talked about how Roosevelt embraced the strenuous life, but what does that mean for you today? Does it mean, hitting the gym every day,
Right.
conquering mountains, or is there a broader interpretation, a metaphorical meaning that speaks to the challenges, the opportunities that we all face in our own lives?
Yeah. It's a question worth considering. Maybe it's about pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zones, taking on new challenges, using our strengths to make a positive impact.
Yeah. Whatever it means for you, I think the core message is pretty clear. Don't sit on the sidelines. Engage with the world, fight for what you believe in, and never stop striving to be the best version of yourself.
That's some great advice. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the life and legacy of Theodore Roosevelt. We hope you found it, enlightening, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit challenging. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing yourself to dare mighty things.